Hi, and welcome to this series where we answer 100 Rust coding interview questions. Today we'll be looking at FizzBuzz. FizzBuzz is quite a common question in interviews, so I think it's a good one to know. So basically, write a program that outputs the string representation of the numbers 1 to n. But for multiples of 3, it should output fizz instead of the number, and for multiples of 5, output buzz. But for numbers which are multiples of both 3 and 5, output FizzBuzz. So we're given this number 15, n equals 15, and that will be, so we'll be going from 1 to 15. And we know if you multiply 3 by 5, you're going to get 15, so the value that FizzBuzz lands on will be 15. And every multiple of 3, you'll have fizz. Every multiple of 5, you will have buzz. Alright, so a pretty common question, but in Rust, we implement it just a little bit differently. So first we have our iterator. So in Rust, you just do this 1 dot dot, and then the number you're going to iterate to. But we want to include n, so to include n, we just put this equals here. And then we have to map it. So map basically transforms one iterator into another. And if you have an iterator that gives you an element of some type A, you can get an iterator of some other type B with a map. So you basically do this by passing a closure that takes A and returns B. And I'll show you that now. And the closure is basically a lambda expression. These are basically like functions that where the types are, the functions where the input and output can be inferred. And I recommend you look up closures and lambda expressions. So we get our map, and then we have our closure of x. And now we're going to match the values that we're iterating through on x. So x, if x is modulus 15 equal to 0. So what we want to happen if the case is we get a 0 and the remainder, if the remainder is 0 on a 15, when it's divided by 15, we want it to give us a string from FizzBuzz. The reason we have this string from like this is because there's two types of strings in Rust. And if you don't know what they are, I recommend you study that. It's quite important. Otherwise, you'll be running into a lot of issues with the compiler if you cannot tell the difference. So here we're going to do by tree, modulus tree, and we're going to get 0. String from fizz. So we get a fizz if it's remainder 0 on a tree. And x if x remainder from 5 is equal to 0. So here we will get buzz. It's really quite that simple. And then other than that, we just want to return x as is, as the number that it is. We don't want to manipulate it, but we do want to turn it to a string. And we'll see why now in a second. Because we're going to collect these values. And collect basically puts them in the iterator for us, or puts them into the vector for us. Because if you see here, they want us to return a vector of string. Vector is like a type of an array in Rust. And the collect will basically collect the values for us and put them into this vector. And that's basically it. If you have any questions about this, so let's just run it first before I ask about questions. Okay. Didn't mean to have that there. Brackets always catch me out in things like this. Oh, of course, another bracket. Another bracket. I was messing around with this before starting the video, so it's been giving me a few issues. And I've attempted to run the code too soon. Great. Come on, leetcode, don't do this to me. There you go. Answer accepted. So if we submit this answer, we should get a definitive whether it works or not. If you have any questions about this implementation, please let me know. And I've opened a few tabs here to explain some of the concepts that we've just looked at in this solution. So first of all, we have range inclusive, which is when we put this equals on the iterator, equals n. And it says here, range bounded inclusively below. So basically includes the value that you're passing into the iterator. So 3 to 5, including 5. We were also looking at closures, which is a very important concept in Rust. They're lambda expressions, basically. And I recommend reading through as much of this as you can. It's in the Rust by example book. If you have any other questions, let me know. Please subscribe, and I'll be coming out with more content soon. You may notice the audio quality has gotten a bit better since the last videos, and that's because I've got a new microphone here. Pretty cool. And I'll be getting some video recording equipment as well, which will allow me to do a lot more cool videos, and I might be starting some podcasts soon. So please keep tuned for that. If you have any suggestions or comments, just let me know down below. Thanks.